Everybody, this is the Trolling with Logic podcast. We are live now with the Arab Atheists. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, sure. We are a blog TV show that broadcasts live on blog TV, obviously, and we also upload our videos to YouTube. We have our own website that we also upload it to, along with other content that relates to Islam generally, since that's, you know, the audience that we're addressing in Arabic. Mm-hmm. And we are currently doing a show every other week, so about twice a month, but starting next Friday we will be doing one every week. And yeah, so our basically what we do is we talk about Islam and why it's detrimental to Arab speaking world, along with the world in general, and just oppose the superstition and, you know, religion in general, but in Arabic, obviously.
Yeah. So, I don't know, is everyone else here on the call now?
Yeah.
Alright, it's just we lost a few. Just once Lundy did that introduction, nearly everyone disappeared off my screen. So, oh, the wonders of technology. So I'll probably ask you a bit about yourself. One thing we quite hear is quite difficult being an atheist coming from an Islamic community. Is that true? Anyone that's listening?
I'm sorry. I had a really hard time even understanding that.
I think what he's trying to ask is it really hard to be an atheist in an Islamic community?
Well, I live in the States, so it may be hard for me to comment on that. But Neda and Aziz may be in a good position to comment here.
Neda?
Yes. I don't know. In Egypt, I don't think people know what atheism is. They think it's just kafir, and if somebody converts from Islam, he's going to another religion. Most people don't think he's gonna just leave all the religion and go to something called atheism. They don't know that. When I try to think about Islam and is it right or wrong, the second thing I think about is Christianity. We don't have another options. We don't see people talk about atheism in Arab countries. So it's very hard. You know, I know about atheism from YouTube and internet. I didn't hear it from even media in my country. So it's very hard, yes. But with the internet, it's going to be very easy, and a lot of people are going to leave Islam and other religion.
There's a lot of people who kind of like spread this message of the internet is where the religion goes to die. It's sort of like what it is, but I also think that the internet serves a purpose that's kind of conducive to religion, in that people of different cultures and religions are able to, you know, connect with each other and all that kind of stuff. Hold on, Zulu, we appear to be having a problem with the Blog TV cast. I think CS Bear is saying that nobody's picking up the calls.
That's what I'm seeing on my screen right now. It looks like no one's answered the call. I don't know who's talking because you're not actually on the screen. So I just run, because I can hear everyone fine, so I'll try and fix it. Alright,
you'll go ahead and just work with that then. So something I'm rather curious about, I'm sure you guys have gotten Christians as well communicating with you guys. Is there like a big difference between how a Christian approaches you and how a Muslim approaches you?
Is that for me? Or?
Sure. It's for all of you.
Yeah. To the panel, yeah.
Okay. I read about Christianity, and I spoke with a lot of people, Christian people, and I tried to think about it, but it's the same thing, Christianity and Islam. And in Islam, we know that Christianity is right. There's something is wrong about it, but the whole idea is right. So yeah, we spoke with people, but I don't know. I think it's the same idea. Islam and Christianity, and people in Christianity want to convert people from Islam to Christianity. The same idea and the same kind of people.
Yeah, I think that basically, yeah, I mean, as far as arguments are concerned, they're pretty much exactly the same arguments from both. The way the conversation generally goes is a bit different because Christians are not in a position of power, if you will. So they're real friendly when speaking. On the other hand, when you speak to Muslims, there's a lot of hostility. But as far as the arguments are concerned, I would say that the Christian arguments are more sophisticated and learned for the most part than the ones that Muslims use. And the ones that the learned Muslims use are usually derived from Christian theology.
Yeah, I've sort of noticed that. When I was getting prepared for this, I watched a debate between Hamza and I think his name was Dan Barker. And the debate between them was very parallel to what I would see in like a William Lane Craig debate, because he went up and he gave the cosmological argument and said that's the argument that just shows that a God has to exist and you can't deny this. And then Dan Barker did his thing, but the main difference was that Hamza, throughout the whole debate, he kept saying, "You're so angry. Are you angry with God? You're angry, aren't you?" And that sort of condescending nature, is that unique to Muslims? Is that something that they sort of adopted? Because I don't get that much of that on the Christian side.
Right, and that's why I said that the best of them are ones that are derived from Christian theology, but there is, for the most part, quite a lot of garbage. The ones that are actually, worth talking to are usually, I mean, most of these people have already basically outlawed anything that considers the Quran or God not to exist, or the Quran not to be the word of God, for the most part. But you do get some sophisticated ones who use arguments derived from Christian theology, and you'll see things like that with like Zakir Naik. There's a few of these people that use this type of the type of sophistry that you hear from like Christian theologians, just like real pure philosophy type arguments that don't really have anything to do with real life. And those are the sophisticated ones, but they're a very small minority of the apologists that you hear.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just don't hear a whole lot of like Muslim apologists. It's usually, and it might just be because of my area and where I grow up, is because we're a predominantly Christian country. So that might be most of it, but I don't see a whole lot of it on YouTube.
It's true, and it's true, and that's what I'm saying. There's not a whole lot of it. There's not a whole lot of sensible, coherent, sophisticated theological answers. There's not a whole lot of that. Basically, you can find, I know at least in Arabic, I know a few that do it, and I know certainly a few in English that do it, but not very many. I mean, like I said, Zakir Naik does it in English, and there's a couple of guys like him, especially in Europe. But in Arabic, there's quite a few guys who are actually kind of new in a way. There's a guy called Adnan Ibrahim. There's a guy called Muhammad al-Awaidi. There's a few other guys who are using sophisticated cosmological arguments and that type of thing. Obviously, sophisticated, relatively speaking, but there's very little of that.
Now, I was on the Gin and Tonic show yesterday, and I asked them some questions. I'm just curious as to your answers to the questions. I've been speaking to a Muslim lately, and he's of the position that I actually am not an atheist, and that there's absolutely no such thing as an atheist. And they told me that in Islam you're born a Muslim until you join another religion, and you literally don't have a choice in the matter. Like, you cannot not know that there's a God for some strange reason. Is that what you guys get a lot?
Yeah, I think that's right. Everyone born as a Muslim. I don't know how, if you take a kid and raise it away from Islamic country, he's not going to be a Muslim. So it's wrong. How could this happen? And you just the idea of being Muslim since you're born, like fitra. They say that it's you're born with fitra because God created you, so you're a Muslim. It's
Fitra's human nature, by the way. That's the English translation. Okay. No, go on. I was just explaining that the word is it means human nature, is to be a Muslim. Right. That's basically the claim of fitra.
Yeah, I just finished. I didn't know it's wrong. We used to believe in this, but it's obviously wrong. If you think about it, if you take a kid and I have a kid, and if you told him that he's a Muslim, he's gonna say, okay, I'm a Muslim. If you told a kid and he's Christian, he's gonna think he's Christian. So it's fucking wrong idea about saying that it's nature, because you don't know.
Yeah, it's such a strange. It is a really strange theology to say you're not allowed to not believe in what we say. That really is very confusing to me.
It's not even just that. There is a Muslim doctrine, like Neda was saying. There's a Muslim doctrine called fitra. And this doctrine says, you know how basically we say that human nature is, when there are certain things that are decided by nature, like, when you get hit on the knee, you have that reflex, or, if you're born into water, you automatically know not to breathe in the water. Things that are, so basically the claim that the Muslims make in this doctrine is that a baby is born, just like the baby knows how to not breathe in water, it knows that it's a Muslim, and that anything other than that is a deviation from the natural state of being a Muslim.
There is a little bit of there is some sort of scientific agreement that we are all born with some sort of desire to idolize and look up to something, be it your parents or somebody in the media, and that is looked at as this sort of need to have something to look up to. But to me, that's not something that you can really connect to a god. So I don't think there's really any empirical support for that sort of claim to say that it's as natural to breathe as it is to believe. It's especially like one of the things that they told me is that you're born a Muslim until you become a Christian, or you become a Jew, or you become a Hindu. Like, if you can become other religions that don't worship your God, then why can't you go into a philosophy that excludes your God? Like, it seems like there's some special pleading going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I've actually personally heard the argument that if somebody just telling me outright that I'm not an atheist. I mean, there is a tendency for people of the Muslim faith to attribute somebody's claim to be an atheist as some sort of plot. That we know the truth, but we're lying, and we know in our heart that there is a God and blah blah blah, but we just for some conspiracy theory reason say that we're atheists, even though we actually don't think that there is no God. But as far as basically telling you, oh, even though you don't believe in God, you're still not an atheist, I've actually never heard that. But there is the tendency to think, for Muslims to say, oh, if you don't profess to be a Muslim, then you must either be irrational, or a liar, or a conspirer, or somebody who's just ignorant. And to cast everybody off who's not a Muslim as one of those three categories, excluding the option of looking at all the evidence, looking at all the what's in front of you, and saying, okay, I don't believe this. They believe that that's impossible. Well, at least a lot of them do.
I think I want to comment. I think the idea about this is God created us, and we are slaves for Him, so that's why we are all Muslims. That's the idea about this. We are slaves to God, so He owns us, and so we are all Muslims. that idea about saying what you said.
We're going to go ahead and restart the call real quick for the people in the Blog TV room, so we'll be back in a minute.
Hello? Who's there?
Hello?
Yeah, I've got you, Lundy.
Okay. Got me.
Mortimer?
Yep.
Kitch?
I'm here, yep.
Hi, I'm here.
Trying to add Aziz with.
Okay. I think we're going to have Aziz in a minute here.
Yep.
I think we do.
No, we don't. He's gone again.
All right, so we've got Ali, we've got Aziz, we've got Neda. How do you pronounce that? I'm sorry.
Neda.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm horrible with words.
So carry on, guys.
Sorry. I mean I pronounce Descartes' name all the time. I always pronounce Descartes. Like Descartes doesn't sound right to me. I don't know why. So just moving on. When it comes to Muslim apologetics, like I can kind of see where they get why it is that they take Christian apologetics and sort of use it for their own goals, because correct me if I'm wrong here. Isn't Islam essentially saying that Christianity is right, but they've got a couple things not as clear as it should be, and Islam is also right. So Judaism and Christianity are kind of right, but Islam's got the whole picture. Is that about right?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much exactly right. I mean, they say that it's the same God, it's the same message, but just like Moses came down with the message and Jesus had to fix it, basically they deny that Jesus was like a Messiah or the Son of God, and they say that he was just another prophet, and Muhammad is the last prophet, and he's got the actual right message, and it's the last addition to this story, apparently. And so that's the claim, yes.
That's extremely strange to me because, like, I can see why most Christians would immediately just back the hell off of that because I mean, one of the warnings in Christianity is that there will be false prophets, and Muhammad is like the definition of what they were talking about from my point of view. So it seems like strange to me that any sort of Christian would ever become a Muslim.
Right, I mean, and the Jews thought the same thing about, you know, it's not, this isn't the first time this has happened.
I referenced something that I wasn't sure was in the Quran or the Surah. I think there's a passage that says that Aisha was suspicious about Muhammad being the prophet of God. Like, for some strange reason, Muhammad is always quick to serve, Allah is always quick to serve Muhammad's needs. And Aisha kind of picked up on that. Is that true?
I don't know, I think it is. His wife, yes, doubted him to be a prophet. I think it's but I don't remember, is it in a surah or hadith? I don't exactly remember.
I think it's in the surah. Yeah, I pronounced it wrong immediately.
It's not. It's in one of the seerahs, and basically it's in one of the sahihs, and it was about a surah that came down granting Muhammad permission to marry somebody who he had previously not been allowed to marry, and when he wanted to, God miraculously sent down the revelation allowing him to do the thing that he wasn't allowed to do previously. And so it's recorded that Aisha said that to him afterwards, but not in a surah. This comes down in the seerah, rather.
Something that I thought was kind of interesting with the debate between Hamza and Dan Barker was whenever Dan started getting into Islam specifically and not just general God belief, that was where Hamza was extremely, like, he was really flailing, like, oh, here's a contradiction in the Quran. And Hamza's retort to that was, I've never seen that before, I think you just made that up. And Dan would say, why do you all just believe the hearsay of Muhammad just saying that he believed that God told him these things? Why do you believe that kind of hearsay? And Hamza would say, well, it's not hearsay. Yes, we believe it because Muhammad said so, but we know that Muhammad was truthful, so that's good enough. And it's like, those, like the Islam-specific points are where the apologists seem to flail. Is that like sort of parallel to what you guys have experienced?
Right, and I'm not sure how familiar these other two guys are with Hamza Tortes, but basically the way I evaluate Hamza Tortes and his whole shenanigans is basically you have to understand that in the Arab world, especially in oil-rich countries, they will pay. Can everybody still hear me okay? Because I feel like
I can hear you. I hear you fine.
Sure. Okay. All right. Yep. So basically, in the Arab world, especially in Saudi Arabia and these other oil-rich countries, somebody of a non-Arab background who comes from a different religion, so let's say Hamza Torsi says that he's an atheist, or what he used to be an atheist, or whatever his deal was. There's a lot of money to be made from that, and you don't really have to know anything, you just have to not be an Arab. It's kind of like a confirmation, like, hey, look, other people are joining our team, and they're not even Arabs, they're not even from a Muslim background. And so basically, the way I view Hamza Torsis is as somebody who doesn't really know Islam, doesn't know what's in Islam, has heard some cosmological arguments from William Lane Craig and some other very superficial arguments for God, says that he's a Muslim, and now he's got all these interviews and venues, and people are giving him an audience for it, and basically that's kind of everybody else's fault for giving him an audience, because he's not an expert on anything. I'm not even sure what this guy's qualifications are for anything. I don't understand why he's even consulted on anything. I mean, this is a guy who will use something like, oh, you have to read the Quran in Arabic, as some sort of argument when he himself doesn't understand the Quran in Arabic. And so I tend to not take this guy very seriously, and I don't think that he makes any serious arguments about Islam or anything like that, and I don't think he knows anything about Islam, to be honest. I think that he just, like I said, got some of this Quran miracle stuff from some old hacks like Zaghlul and Nagar and these other guys, and basically he's just polished that turd to fit what superficial knowledge he has of other theistic arguments, and he's got this weird mix of stinky bullcrap going, and people seem to listen to him. So I guess credit to him for getting as much attention as he has.
I just want to ask just a question. Where in the last month, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia has died, and when I was over there in Lanzarote, we got one of the Muslim movie network, and that had gone for 4 days covering this death. And one of the images they kept cutting to was the Mecca. Why was that? Why would they be showing this religious symbol for the death of a prince? I know that's probably something I should know, but yeah.
I mean, Aziz and Neda, you guys should. I don't know if you know how this works, but you feel free to chime in.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Aziz, and I can hear you as well, Neda.
That's cool. So if you can repeat the question, the catch again, please.
Sure. Recently, the prince in Saudi Arabia, the crown prince, died, and one of the Muslim channels that I had access to was covering that, and during its coverage, it was showing they were showing the Kaaba in Mecca, and people doing their rotations around that. I was just wondering, why was that an essential part of the prince's coverage? Was he not only a political figure, but was he also a religious figure in Islam?
No, he's not religious icon. I guess if you saw some people making rotations around Al-Kaaba, this doesn't mean anything related to his death. But maybe Muslims get accustomed to make like prayers or Quran. If someone VIP who has died, they just like make Quran all the day as a channels, or make people around Al-Kaaba. I guess it's not related that he's a religious icon. I guess it's kind of it's maybe the religious alternative of music or any other shows at the TV. They are just showing respect.
Okay, thank you.
So I think it's basically the use of religion and to stir up all the religious emotion, and link that somehow with the political ruling system. Basically, the use of religion to keep the masses interested in the things they want them interested in.
So, getting a little more into Islam here. I believe it's true. I believe it's said pretty much everywhere that there's in all the texts that Aisha was 9 when the marriage was consummated. Is that true?
Yeah, that's right. He married her at 6, like the papers, and he can have sex with her before that, and at 9 it's hard for him, or it's I think it's not good to have sexual intercourse before 9, so he can have sex with her, without sexual intercourse. And after 9, he had complete sex with her. But some people now say that it's like she was like 18 or 21, and it's just a lie. Everybody know that she was 9, and he started, marrying her at 6. She was 6 years old.
Dry humping. He started dry humping her.
Yes, that's what I've heard as well. There's also, I think there's another apologetic on it that Aisha was actually the one that initiated, but I'm not sure if that's true.
No. Yeah, that's right. A 6-year-old initiated the marriage. That's yep.
No.
Yep, that happened. A 6-year-old.
What must have been one horny 6-year-old.
Yeah, that's right. A 6-year-old. And hey, let's just listen to the logic. A 6-year-old asks you to marry her, and you're just like, okay.
I can't resist.
Seriously.
Come on, don't judge. Don't you remember when you were 6?
No, actually.
Were we all like that when we were 6 years old? Just thinking about marriage.
I vaguely remember finger painting when I was 6. I don't know about anybody else here. I just couldn't resist 6-year-olds. So boring.
I resist using the sexual innuendo for finger painting.
Yeah. No, but just getting back on topic seriously though, the basically you have to be careful when you talk about this. At least I tend to be, because I'm not really too familiar with the Shia mazhab, but I do know that, for instance, that they pretty much mostly hate Aisha and Sahih and the other Sahihs. And so I'm not exactly sure how you would use, or what you would use to prove that to a Shiite, but to a Sunni who is obligated to believe in Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and the other Sahihs, which is the 7. They have to admit that Muhammad married Aisha at 6, dry humped her until she was 9 and consummated the marriage when she turned 9. And so that there's, if you are a Sunni Muslim, you basically have no choice but to admit that, because it's very, I mean, it's very clear story that is, you know, it's clear as day. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if somebody would like to argue against that, then what they have to do is get rid of the Sunni mazhab. And you know, they're welcome to do that, obviously.
This is something that I should know, but I don't, and it's embarrassing and sad. But what is the difference between? What are the differences between a Sunni and a Shiite?
Well, basically, as Sunnis, well, the difference between Sunnis and Shia started after the death of Muhammad. Okay, not at his era. So it was after his death when it's like a political conflict started to grow, because some people wanted Ali with his cousin. He wanted him to be the first Khalifa, which is the first prince after him. Okay, and other people recommended Abu Bakr. And here the conflict started to begin, and in later eras, those conflicts started to get bigger and bigger. I guess there is no time here to describe all this, but the issue here, or the religious issue here, is that the Ali parties or supporters doesn't believe in Abu Bakr and Omar as to be like legal princesses after Muhammad. So they started to refuse all their traditions or their habits, and here the differences start to grow. They are those Ali supporters who are Shias are only taking all their traditions from Ali and his sons and his relatives, okay, and all Islam from him only, and Sunnis on the other side are maybe more open to all Muhammad friends and taking the religion from all his friends and supporters in that time.
Also, there is a crucial point to mention here, and that is the actual cataclysm that happened was when Ali was killed by Muawiyah's supporters. Muawiyah is also another. This is basically the succession of power in the Muslim empire after Muhammad's death. The first was Abu Bakr, the second was Omar, the third was Usman, and the fourth was Ali, and the fifth was Muawiyah. And so basically, Ali is Muhammad's cousin. He was killed by the fifth guy's supporters, Muawiyah. And basically that's where the split became, because Muawiyah was kind of a power-hungry guy. He really didn't care about any of this religion stuff or anything like that. He just basically wanted power. And so basically what the Shiites say is that everything, all these books that have come out after Muawiyah are all doctored, and they all basically don't count. And they take only the stuff that Ali is known to have said or done. And so basically that's where the split comes in. The Sunnis listen to all the books even though knowing that Muawiyah was the one who created them. And the Shiites say, no, Muawiyah was a scumbag, we're not going to listen to him. We're only going to take the stuff that we know Ali and his sons and descendants have said. And so that's the difference between the two, and that's why you can't use, let's say, Sunni books to talk to Shiites, because they don't even, they say that those books are no good. And also the same goes for the Sunnis, although the Sunnis do agree with a lot of the stuff that the Shiites say, of course, because they also use Ali as a source.
Just to relay a question from the chat from Pink Crew. In what ways are your daily lives constrained by your religious culture? That is from, again, Pink Crew, who sent that in.
Is he asking about...
He's asking mainly, like, what does your culture constrain on you as a result of being a religious culture and you being a non-religious person?
Okay. Well, in many aspects, at least I guess Ramadan is after 2 days from now, and I guess I have to pretend that I'm fasting and I'm not eating in the day, so that they are not going to put me in jail. At least in Kuwait, there is a law here says if someone caught in the day eating or drinking in a public area is going to be put in jail and pay a penalty also. So this is one constraint. Let's say if your father died, for example, and you're an atheist, you're not allowed to get any money from his wealth because you're an atheist. For example, you're banned to marry a Muslim woman because you're an atheist. You are also, if someone knew clearly that you are an atheist and don't believe in Muhammad and God and all this shit, I guess you have really weak chances in getting VIP positions like jobs or public authorities or stuff like that. I guess also for women it's harder and harder. I guess Nada can explain more better than me because she is a woman and she has many constraints strict in her life.
I think, as you said, it's fasting, and we're gonna pretend that we're fasting and praying like them. And also, there's one thing about women. I still live with my family, and I still wearing hijab when I go out, so I can't take it off. What else? There's one thing also about women. The father had the power to force her to get married for anyone he wants, as the Quran and Hadith say that he has the power over the woman. And what else? You said everything about it. So that's it.
Right, I'd like to just clarify that when they say that they have to pretend to fast and to pray, it's because if it's found out that they are no longer Muslims, it is not unknown that they might be killed, jailed, divorced from their spouses, all have their money taken from them, all different types. I mean, there's the story of Hamza, the Saudi blogger or Twitter activist that he never even said he was an atheist. He just simple questions about their religion, and he's still in jail. And they made him basically go back and say, oh, he didn't mean any of this stuff and all that, or he could have been facing some really serious consequences. And certainly another thing, and I can't believe that Neda didn't mention this, is how easy it is to get away with killing a woman for honor in these countries. I mean, these type of things, they look at them the other way all the time, and it's very prevalent, especially when they switch religions like that. If a Christian, even Christians in Egypt, at least as far as I know, if a Christian switches their religion to Islam, they will try to kill them. And in some cases, they are given up by the other party. And so there are fairly serious constraints and consequences to people finding out that you're an atheist, especially if you're a woman. And like I said, I'm not sure why Neda didn't mention that, but I mean, there are plenty of stories even here in the West of honor killings. Now, in the Middle East, in most cases, these crimes are basically justified and legal.
No, sorry, I forget. And also, people in my country, I live in a small country, and anyone can slaughter his sister or his wife for honor killing. So it's easy, and law is with him. If you killed your sister for honor killing, you're gonna be take few months or a year as maximum in prison. So it's easy to do this.
It's such a strange idea to be able to just be arrested for questioning. That blows my mind. I mean, we have this case in Indonesia with Alexander On, who said, if you have a god, show him to me, and he got 2.5 years in prison for that. And this actually goes with another thing that I experienced with this other Muslim that I've been in communication with, where he actually said that that's okay because for some strange reason, me being an atheist infringes on his right to be a Muslim. Like, how the hell does that work?
Well, it doesn't, and that's what we're saying. That's not acceptable. It doesn't work that way, you know. But that's obviously, you know, we're not getting through to very many people. Those who actually listen will hear these kinds of things, and they will try to deny that they're there or try to reinterpret their scriptures. But for most people, that's what they accept to be the truth. If you believed, as they do, that Islam is true, God exists, and Muhammad is his prophet, all these other things are perfectly natural.
I think in Indonesia, like there's a specific set of religions that you're allowed to have, and then any other religion is barred from you being able to join it, and you have to have a religion. I was watching an interview with a guy who was representing the prosecution of Alexander On, and his statement was that in Indonesia we have freedom of religion, but you have to have a religion. Like that's not equal. How can anyone see that as being fair? That makes wow.
It's the same here in Egypt. Sorry, Ali, continue.
No. You go. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just want to say it's the same here in Egypt. I'm Egyptian, but I'm living in Kuwait. In Egypt now, they are like making a law proposal for respecting all religions. They mean those Abrahamic religions, Jewish, Christianity, and Islam. Okay, and it means respecting, and anyone has the right to take his own religion and practice his own his religious practices. Okay, but they are not accepting any other religion like Baha'i. They are not accepting that. They are not accepting atheists, for example, or non-religious people, or Buddhists, or any other religions. They are just accepting those three religions, specifically Christianity and Islam.
Okay, guys, we have a caller. It's Stop S in South Africa. Or Stop Spamming.
Yeah, I was told that Stop Spanning is sort of an expert on Hamza Tortsis and his background and all that. So it was recommended that we bring him on the show to sort of give us a little bit of an illumination on who Hamza is.
He's also a host on the Gin and Tonic show, which, by the way, our program is modeled after, for the most part.
Yeah, I actually like the Gin and Tonic show. There's so many different podcasts on freaking on Blog TV and all these kinds of things. It's insane. How many? Like I love it because like there's so many different atheistic podcasts out there, and we're all getting our message out there, and it's really helpful. Stop Spamming. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thank you. Good of you to take me in. I'm not going to take much of your time. The thing is that what I heard, which had me giggling, was when you referred to Hamza. Hamza is a Greek. He calls himself an ex-humanist. He moved to London, and he is now a professional Muslim, because it's quite right what you said. You can make a lot of money with this. The thing is that what he does is he doesn't really have any kind of tertiary education, but pretends as though he's an expert in embryology, he's an expert on quantum physics, anything that you want. He's been schooled a couple of times by P.Z. Myers, a professor in biology, and Professor Hoodboy, a physics professor, but he still maintains that he knows better than those professors what the whole thing is about. Now, I watched a video of him where he explains the Higgs boson, He just says, well, and then the field suddenly gets switched on, and there it is, and he has no clue. But what he does, he gives clueless information, and then in front of it prefixes it with philosophically. And this makes all the difference. And this is what makes him a god within the Muslim community.
Oh God, that annoys me so much when someone says, I'm not speaking scientific, I'm speaking philosophically, because that sort of adds to this stigma of philosophy, like, oh, so philosophy is essentially making shit up, is what you're saying. Like, that really pisses me off.
You know what? We were actually talking about this yesterday, and what I said was, what pisses me off the most isn't that he's an obvious fraud, it's that he's an obvious bad fraud. I mean, if he was a good fraud, at least you could say, like, well, you can understand why people are falling for this fraud because he's such a good fraud. But he's a bad fraud, and it's very obvious, and that pisses me off even more.
Exactly, and there's two things. He copies William Lane Craig down to gestures. So whatever WLC does, he copies, but he doesn't understand it. So he makes mistakes. So when Craig says, well, it's to the power of 518,000, Hamza just hears 518. So he says to the power of 518, which doesn't make it all that impressive. So you get a lot of examples like this. And then the other thing what he does is he puts out a paper on embryology. And then Captain Disguise, for example, calls him out and says, listen, this is nonsense. So he changes it, and then you suddenly have his paper on embryology version 1.1. Then the rationalizer comes up and says, listen, this is nonsense. So he has to go back home, changes it, out comes version 1.2. And this carries on. And I think the current version is somewhere around 2.2 or 2.3 or something on the same paper. So he always makes these mistakes and has to go back and then correct them.
What I really loved about his embryology thing is when he confronted P.Z. Myers and he was trying to debate him like live outside a convention or something, and he's like, "This is what the Quran says about embryology, and it's true, isn't it?" And he laid out what the Quran says about embryology, and P.Z. was like, "Is that what the Quran says?" "Yes." "Well, the Quran is wrong." Yeah. And he's like, "Well, what do you know about embryology?" He's like, "Well, I'm an embryologist, so yeah."
So the other point I would just quickly like to confirm is because I've been to like Middle East and I've been to near Asia, I've been to Far Asia. It is true that if you are a non-resident and you are a so-called long nose and you are white, you automatically have a higher status. No matter what it is that you bring, no matter what it is that you can actually do, perform, or add value to, you are automatically seen as a guru initially. So yes, you do get a bonus right from the beginning.
Yeah, if you've even been outside the country, whatever it is that you've been in, you're for some odd reason are looked at as an absolute authority on everything. I mean, somebody like very famous personalities on television, at least in Egypt, growing up, are just people that if you as far as an educated person, as soon as you listen to them, you just it's kind of like you here in the States, if you listen to like Glenn Beck, if you're an educated person, you listen to that for like 5, and I don't want to be, I'm just talking about that specific guy, obviously ridiculous. If for some reason is taken as an absolute authority on everything. You can talk about embryology, cosmology, this is a guy with a high school diploma is talking about it's quantum mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, there was one small thing with the Shias and the Sunnis. Because I sort of grew up in Iran and Tehran, you need to appreciate something, that in Iran the Ayatollah has a status like in the Catholic Church the Pope. So there is a split in the Shias between the church and the government, which you don't necessarily have with the Sunnis. So and in the Sunnis, you don't have one person, because the Sunnis are adamant that everybody is equal. So you cannot have one person as an absolute authority, which you have this imam culture that you have in the Shias. Something that I noticed, and I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and the sad part is, like a country like Egypt, the way the college system works is you have to get a certain percentage of your mark during high school to get into the type of college you want to go into. So, for instance, if you wanted to be a medical doctor, you would have to get 99% of scores in high school. If you wanted to be an engineer, you'd have to get a 90%. If you wanted to be some kind of other an accountant, you'd have to get 70%. And to get into a religious college, you just need to get over 50%. Right, and so what you get is all the lazy idiots who didn't do anything or learn anything, going in and then coming out and ruling and saying to people, this is good and this is bad, even though they are absolute failures to begin with. And they're the ones who control society. They're the ones who get to decide, what is acceptable to do research on, what is acceptable to ask, all these type of things. And basically, they're a bunch of failures who are doing this.
Yeah, but now look at Muslims on the forums, for example. They are celebrating Hamza because he can articulate himself and he knows how to add difficult-sounding words one to each other. Whether they make sense or not is a different question. But for them, he is like the new Zakir Naik, because people have suddenly realized that what Zakir Naik said 20 years ago, all these miracles, there must be something wrong because there is so much objection. But they are seeing now the philosophical approach of Hamza, who always says, well, the linguistic miracle is there and you cannot argue with that. And then he puts all these funny words together. And he is like the new guru.
I find that insane whenever anybody says, tries to report philosophy as their focal point, yet at the same time not understand that what philosophy is about asking questions about the axioms that we work from. So if you say you cannot argue this, well, I'm sorry, but that's what philosophy is for us to be able to argue that. So you're an idiot.
Okay, that's it. You guys carry on. I just wanted to clarify this. Have fun.
Great. It was great having you on. Stop spamming.
Great. Thank you for the call. Just a question from the chat. It's from Belzer, and he wants to know how you guys have lost your faith.
Yeah, I'll let one of the other guys go first. I've talked plenty.
You can start if you want.
No. I've definitely talked way too much. You guys go ahead.
Okay. For me, it started with religion itself. I doubted Islam too many times in my teenage. I guess it has many conflicts, but always there is like fixes for them. For example, if you have like something that you're asking about, you find an answer, but it's not logical. Maybe it's like, okay, it may goes like this, but it's not like a logical answer. So after reading more, you find more conflicts, and you find more things that against humanism, lots of things against logic, against science. You can just fix them and say any argument, or just trying to make up those mysterious things or mysterious information. Anyway, I started to doubt many statements in Quran and in Hadith, and I started to read about other religions, like, seeking for the better religion, or seeking for another religion. But I found that all religions have the same problems and the same mistakes, maybe. So I started to know that what if all religions are wrong? So what's the solution? Okay, how can I live without religion? Does anybody else have the same conflicts in his mind? And I found yes, there's lots of guys around me who have the same questions, and some of them were atheists. So I started to read more about the non-religious thoughts. I started to read about atheism and let's say democracy, humanism, and those areas, and I started to feel for the first time that those simple human ideas are more realistic and more appealing to me more than Quran and Hadith. So I started to get convinced with lots of those thoughts. I started to have my own thoughts. I left Islam, and I started reading science to find like if like a human being can evolve, like have evolution and be a human being, and I guess I found lots of answers in science, and that's it.
Neda?
Okay. It started with me when I was in my teens. I was asking questions to myself: why we pray? Sometimes I pray, sometimes not. Why we fast? And I thought it's just my beliefs, and I should have a stronger faith. So I tried to read more Quran and try to pray more and to have more, strong faith. But it's after a period of time, I felt there's something wrong here. When I read Quran, there's a lot of conflict in Quran and in Hadith, and also I feel it was not fair for me, the treatment for when Quran talks about women, and also when Muhammad treats women, that's not fair. So I felt there is something wrong here. I was trying to search to find something else, and spoke with people, Christian people, and tried to read the Bible, and it was the same idea, but few things better than Quran. Like you don't have Sharia or anything, and you don't have hard scripture like Quran. After a period of time also I felt that, this is also not a good thing. There's also a conflict and a fairy tales talking about ghosts and everything. So after that I saw a few clips on YouTube, some people burning Quran and humiliating it. So I felt, I was shocked at this time, and think how holy thing like Quran treated like this, and if there's a God, why he's not protecting his Quran and his word. After that I tried to listen to some people on YouTube, and I heard Ali's story, and I found that at this time, I felt all the religion are wrong, but I didn't know where to go. I didn't find any other solution. I was like lost. I didn't know what is the right thing. When I heard about atheism and some people left all their religion and become atheists, I tried to know more about atheism, and I found it very logical. And at this time, I know, that's the right thing. That's what I was looking for. And at this time, I felt very, very relieved. All my life was searching for something, and finally I found it. That's my story.
Ali?
Yeah, I don't know. I have a different story, obviously, because I lived in the United States for quite a while now, and basically I got exposed to a different culture. I realized, this isn't so bad. Premarital sex, pork, and alcohol aren't really something you should be, thrown an eternity for. And I took philosophy, learned about reasonable expectations as to what's right and what's wrong, and after a while, reading a little bit more and things like that, I realized afterwards that I never actually really believed any of this stuff. I mean, I said that I did believe it, and I pretended like I believed it, but I never actually believed it. And at some point, I just recognized that was the case, and just realized that I'm in a position where that would actually be a good thing if you then turn around and use it in Arabic. And so, I mean, as far as atheism is concerned, I don't think that it was any specific thing that did it. I think it was just, you grow up, you learn a little bit, you know how things actually are, and then you kind of realize that ghost stories aren't exactly a good way to explain your existence. And I just kind of walked away. I wasn't, obviously a personal story aside, but there wasn't like this one thing that happened where I was like, oh, I'm now turning into an atheist. It was just recognizing piece by piece that this was all just made up stuff, and then after that I realized that I was an atheist after I read the God Delusion. I mean, I was already an atheist. I just didn't know that's what I was, and then I read the God Delusion and realized, yeah, that's what I am. I'm actually an atheist. I don't believe any of this garbage, and I'd never actually even heard of the term, or I mean, I've heard kuffar, but my idea of kuffar was something completely different than what I think of now as an atheist. But that was basically it. That's basically the shorthand. I actually have a video on my channel doing it too, so you can look at that if you'd like.
It's weird. I always get this image in my head of a Muslim just sort of slowly deconverting. I've always seen pictures of mosques where everybody's just kind of like bowed down on carpets praying, and then I get this image of a Muslim just kind of like looking up, going, "Why am I here?" And that's sort of how I picture a Muslim deconverting. Like, why is everybody just bowing down? I don't understand. And it's as soon as you start to ask questions,
I guess all Muslims are asking themselves the same questions and have lots of doubts inside themselves. But the difference between someone who turns to be an atheist and someone who stays as a Muslim is that someone who maybe he wants to ask and have the courage to ask and have the courage to search and have the courage to face any conflict and to see if it's wrong or right. And on the other side, there is someone who just wants to get convinced of anything. For example, there is something in Quran says that God created everything in the world as a couple, like a male and female. Okay, and this is scientifically science wrong. Okay, not every creature is a couple, male and female. So when you ask a Muslim, for example, how can you explain this? The statement says we have created every creature into a couple, a male and female. So you start to say, it's not really every creature. So they start to make it like this. So if you want to face it and search for the reality, you will find it. And if you have the courage to change your beliefs, I guess not too much people in the world can have the courage to change their beliefs. And on the other hand, also they are afraid of hell, because Islam have lots of statements inside Quran which describes hell and how it is really, really painful, and how it's ready for all those who doubt God, who doubt Islam, who doesn't believe, who have sex, blah 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 blah.
I just want to ask bit of a change of topic. How do you think that the Arab Spring is going to affect atheism in the Middle East and the Arab world and the wider Arab world?
I think I mean, I see the Arab Spring and the new wave of atheism that's hitting the Arab world as basically all symptoms of the same thing. And I think somebody mentioned it earlier, as basically, the internet is where religion goes to die. When somebody goes on the internet, and basically in Arab culture right now, there is not very much reading going on. because atheists have been writing in Arabic for decades, there's never been a shortage of that. There's just been a shortage of readers, and so basically, with all these new different ways of communicating with people, it's much easier for a teenager who's growing up on the internet to go onto a video accidentally and recognize, wait a minute, there's people who think this way. And basically the same thing has happened with democracy. They look and they see what the West is like, and that's what they want. They look and they see what atheism is, and that's what they want. And basically, it boils down to this, is how much do you know and how much of that information is being filtered. And if you can, if the filter has enough holes in it that a lot of people can find out what's going on, then it just, you cannot keep intact something like a dictatorship or something like Islam or anything like that, because it primarily depends on a lack of an informed public and deliberate dishonesty and misinformation. And so anytime there's a way for people to get the actual answers and to find out what other people are doing and how they live their lives, then it becomes very difficult to keep these types of systems intact. And the Arab Spring is a symptom of that. The dictatorships is the thing that affects everybody's lives. I mean, some people don't even think about religion because their lives are so bad. 40% of Egyptians don't even know how to read or write. So we're talking about, with the more there's, and the internet is spreading. We're not going to roll this back. Nobody's. I mean, there's not going to be a reverse direction here. And so basically, the more the internet goes into the countryside, like you see, what happens is people who are from very humble beginnings, who would have never ever thought to question their religion, realize that they can do that, and that it's logical to do that. And like I said, so it manifests itself in the Arab Spring and in a rise in atheism in Saudi Arabia between men and women more than men, and in Egypt now there's tons and tons of atheists coming out. And so I think they're all symptoms of the same thing, is basically the ability of people to look at other people and see how they live, and the lack of ability to censor that on part of the religious authorities and governments.
And actually on Egypt, ignoring the fact that they had really, the presidential race, they had a crap choice really between a figure of the old regime and a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. Do you think that the better man, even though the better man is not really a great choice, won in that one? And I had a second question or follow-up question to that. I'll just leave it at that because I forgot my follow-up.
Yeah, I'll let Neda or Aziz answer that. Neda?
Sorry.
The question is, how do you think the Arab Spring is going to be affecting the Islamic world as far as atheism goes?
Well, actually, no. I think his question was about Morsi and how they viewed him winning against the other candidate. Basically, the idea that they were both bad choices, but was Morsi a better choice than Shafiq? Maybe I misunderstood, but I thought that was the question.
Yep, that was the question in a nutshell.
Okay, in Egypt, I don't know, after Morsi we don't know anything. He tried to comfort us and said there's nothing's gonna change, but I don't know, we don't believe, Ikhwan brothers, so we don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe there's nothing gonna change in a few years, like 4 years or something. They're not gonna make a big change in the country, but maybe after that they're gonna make it like Saudi Arabia. Who knows? So people are afraid, but we have hope that things not change and be better and give. We don't know the man himself, what he's gonna do with us, but we hope for good,
And how likely do you think the military council are going to give up their powers voluntarily?
I'm sorry again, please.
The ruling military council, and I might be a little bit behind, but how likely are they going to give up their powers in Egypt?
They keep silent now. We don't know why. I thought they gonna remove him or rebel against him if he did something wrong or he make a major change in Egypt. We hope for this. But now we don't know how he think. He just keep silent and keep calm, and we don't know how they think. So it's just a bit foggy. We don't know anything about the future in Egypt. But I think there's not a big change is going to happen because people learn how to rebel against this. They know how to make a revolution. So if they try to make a change or make it like Muslim countries like Iran and like Saudi Arabia, I think liberal people is gonna rebel against this. Then they're not gonna keep silent about changing a country like Egypt.
That was one of the things I noticed about the rise in the rebel. It was more, there wasn't a Muslim kind of domination or Christian or anything. It does seem to be more secular or just non-religious. That it was just getting Mubarak out and getting a ruling government that represented the people of Egypt.
That's very hard to happen in Egypt. If atheist people speak, they're gonna be killed. There's no other way. In the few coming years, I don't think that atheist people can have this chance to speak. They're gonna be killed.
I think what he means is that the revolution seemed to be secular, rather than of a religious origin. Like, you know, it was liberals and leftists that started the revolution rather than the Muslim Brotherhood or the Salafis. I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I think we have another caller lined up.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Oh, we got Goxter. Sweet. Before we have him on, I just want to ask: do you guys think it's a realistic idea that religion will at all be wiped out in the world? Do you think that's realistic as a goal?
Yeah. Do you think that's realistic as a goal? So you have to mute something here. Oh, my microphone doesn't work.
Just hop in if you've got an answer.
Okay, can you hear me?
Oh yes, I can hear you, Guy.
If I can, I'll answer just to get the conversation moseying. I would say that to wipe out religion would not be totally possible. You can certainly cut it down to such an extent that it won't be such a majority, because religions are all the time coming in and out of existence, like Scientology, though that's more of a cult, but then again, what's the difference? It's not that old, and that'll probably go and die, and then it's just more about keeping religion levels low, and it's more importantly out of government and out of people's lives who are not in that religion.
And out of science class.
Definitely that one.
I think Aziz actually has a pretty good answer for this. We actually just did a show on that.
Aziz, can you hear us?
Yeah, if you can repeat the question, please, because I have some difficulties in internet.
My question was if you think it's a realistic goal that we could at all possibly annihilate religion from society.
No, I don't think so. At in the near future, but I guess in the very long run it can happen. For example, as we said yesterday, we were discussing something like this. For example, those presidents who could expect that they are going that those people are going to remove them from authority. Who could imagine that the biggest religions in the world in the last time or the ancient eras has just disappeared, and new religions come like Islam and Christianity? I guess religion is just an idea. I know it's central, and I know it's affecting lots of people's lives, especially Muslim people. But I guess in the long run, and when I say long run, it means not less than 70 or 100 years. Islam, for example, is going to be a minority in the Muslim world. Maybe this is going to happen, but if you want this to happen, the secular people, the secular youth and non-believers must do their best. I mean, spreading their ideas with logic, trying to be like a good ideal for their thoughts. For example, if atheists and non-believers are really disturbing and making problems, who's going to get confessed? Especially that the Arab people are really emotional. They just like look at you and try to imitate you if you are like if they like it the way you are doing or the way you are thinking. So I guess the issue here is that the secular people, the secular youth, who should advocate their time and their efforts to spread their ideas and try to seek more freedom, to seek more democracy, to seek more human rights, not only religion. In this case, I guess lots of people are going to follow them, lots of people are going to do the same, and by time, with the spread of internet and just a debate like this, okay, wasn't possible couple of years ago, and atheists just going online and talking, and we can see lots of atheists going online and talking and spreading their ideas in forums and YouTube, on Facebook. And for example, 2 years ago, I had almost 200 or 300 atheist friends on my Facebook. Now I can find 3,000, 4,000 easily. Okay, so here in Kuwait, for example, I have lots of atheists who meet and gather and have our tokens. We still don't have any active actions. We don't participate in public, for example, for spreading our ideas. But for the moment, we could gather, we could talk, we could plan for something that we can do in the future. Who knows what we are going to do? But at least for now, it's like individual efforts. Everyone is just doing his best. Internet or just like the evolution in Egypt, lots of guys who were atheists went to Tahrir Square and started to protest, asking for freedom. I guess I'm optimistic about the future, but we have to do lots of effort, and not only lots of effort, it must be like wise effort, wise and smart, and we have to cooperate, because actually what I see is, for example, Muslim Brotherhood are cooperating, are really well organized. That's why they could reach the authority of Egypt now, and maybe they're going to reach the authority of lots of Arab countries, for example Syria, in the near future. So that's because they are organized, not that because they are the majority. They are not the majority. They are only organized and spreading their ideas and advocating their time and money to reach what they want to reach. So if you want to wide away the religion in the Arab world, we have to spend the same time, spend the same money, and be like, for example, believe in what you are doing. And I guess here we have more stronger logic, we have science with us, stands with us, and this is really a great supporter for us. Nowadays, it's the era of science, it's the era based on science, no more myths, no more lies can be, for example, just fade away and anyone can believe it. I guess also in the future, I guess more science discoveries are going to be found out, and this is going to help us a lot. That's what I think.
All right, fantastic. We have Gokster on the show. Welcome, Gokster. What is your question for the panel?
Welcome, guys. I just, first of all, what Aziz just said, I went a lot lately to look behind what is behind the Muslim Brotherhood, and I think it's the most or the biggest possible secular movement that we can for the moment expect in the Arab world. There are not very much clerics in the leading positions. There are mostly university professors, doctors, lawyers who are ruling or are for the moment the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood. And I think really the agenda, if we can speak about an agenda of these people also, is to go to a more secular movement and to a more secular world. That's at least the opinion I have. Unfortunately, when we in the West hear something about Muslim and brotherhood, and when we are somehow indoctrinated by Fox or other TV channel, it sounds very evil. When you have brotherhood and Muslim together, it sounds really like a conspiracy that we have to be afraid of. But I think it's really the biggest chance we have that we have really there people to communicate with who have not only a religious background but also a background from a higher education.
I just wanted to say that Nada lives on the south side of Egypt. I don't think that she's grown up on Western media. Neither is Aziz, and I think that neither one of them would agree with that. I mean, 48% of the Egyptian people wanted to go for an actual secular government, and I think that that's obviously a better choice than Mohammed Morsi. And to say that that's a Western view, I think kind of dismisses a little bit what minorities are saying in those areas. You don't usually take your history from the people you're trying to investigate.
I disagree with you, Guster, in one point. You mentioned that it's a secular movement. I guess you are right about that. It is a universal movement. Maybe they have universal ideas, and they are seeking for Khilafah, something called Khilafah in Islam, which means one emperor controlling the whole Muslim world. This is the dream of Muslim Brotherhood. Maybe they agree to, I guess they mentioned it before, they agree to have, for example, an Indian Muslim president controlling Egypt, and they don't agree on a Christian, for example, or atheist Egyptian president to control Egypt. That's it.
Yep, I understand. So, but what I really called in was about Syria. A lot of thoughts about Syria and why China and Russia want absolutely avoid that the UN goes actually into Syria. I have my idea of it, and I want to know if you can somehow agree. First reason, Russia and China have been left behind in Libya. So Libya has been distributed all what is there between France, Italy, Germany and America, and Russia and China have received nothing from the success there, and that will not have again to them in Syria, and therefore I think it's one of the reasons because they don't want to go in Syria, which I am not against. I worked in Syria, I worked in refugee camps in Syria and Jordania and so on. So my impression is more that when we see that Bashir al-Assad is an Alawi, so and then when we see how the ethnic groups in Syria are composed. I think I can really compare it to former Yugoslavia, where Al-Assad is there like a Tito to keep all these populations together with a strong hand, surely, with that surely. But when there is no more Bashar al-Assad and there is not a strong man putting in place, that will be the same like it was in ex-Yugoslavia. We will also see there a war between the different ethnic groups in Syria. I won't have your idea about this.
Any response from the panel?
I'm sorry. Can you just put the question, just a more pointed version of it, because I kind of got lost in the middle somewhere.
Really pointed out is, would it be good an intervention from the UN inside Syria, or would it not be good? My idea is it would not be good because of the diversity of the different population groups. What is your idea? Do you think that without Bashar al-Assad there will be a war like in former Yugoslavia between the different ethnic groups inside Syria?
Right. I mean, I think that's happening now either way. I mean, I don't think that the UN going in is going to do anything to either way. I mean, that's happening already. I mean, the most, here's the thing about these theories about the West being the cause of these things, right? Like you said, you mentioned Bosnia, and basically the Muslims got the help from the West. Kuwait, for instance, they begged for help. And even now in Syria, some people are begging for help. Now, to say that if you remove a dictator and Muslims kill each other, that's the West's fault, I think that is missing the point. I think that if the West decides to intervene, that you would then have to find a solution to the problem. You couldn't just knock him off and leave it. So basically, I mean, the way I see it is, if I try to imagine Iraq, okay, losing Saddam Hussein during the Arab Spring instead of during the American invasion, without the West there as a buffer between Sunnis and Shiites, I think that would have been a disaster one way or another. And so, should we intervene? Should the West intervene? I personally, as a human being, knowing that a lot of people are going to get killed, would advocate for doing that, even though I know it's going to cost a lot, and it's going to be, but I would advocate for that. But, some people think that that's not the way to go, and I don't really have. I mean, it's not like my opinion matters anyways, but I think that we have an obligation to stop people getting killed, just like they did in Bosnia, just like, we regret what happened in Rwanda and Darfur. It'll just be either another thing we regret or something we can, say we proudly stepped in and helped some people who are in a really bad bind when they needed it. I think that's probably a more honorable thing to do, but that's just me.
It's a little like the train dilemma. Here we can save maybe in 1 year 10,000 lives, and afterwards we will have 100,000 deaths by intervening than not having someone in place there to really rule that the tensions between these ethnic groups are
okay, so then the real question is these dictatorships have been there for over 60 years now, or somewhere around there, give or take, depending on which country. And have things gotten better? Have they gotten worse? Or have they stayed the same? Things by far have gotten worse. Muslims and Shiites used to live together at some point. I mean, things have not gotten better under the current system, so it's obviously not the right answer. And look, if the options are things just keep getting worse and worse, then we have a bigger problem to deal with, or we just have a really big problem to deal with right now and try to contain it and make it as small as we can while it happens. I think that's probably the wiser way to go, but, again, I'm not really an expert on any of this stuff, so whatever that's worth.
What I only have to give in here is really not the problem about Shia and so on. It's really the problem about the ethnic groups, the mass of ethnic groups who are there. There is tribalism, like also it was in Libya. There is a lot of tribalism, which is the most dangerous, and not so much, well, sure, religion also.
I have to completely disagree with you on the account of Libya, because Libya are entirely Sunni. They have gotten a secular government together to put together a secular constitution. They have actually done better than Egypt. They have no factions in their country. Even though they are a bunch of tribes, they are still doing better than countries where there are religious factions. And that's just a fact. I mean, it's just a fact of what has happened on the ground. Look at Libya today, and look at a country like Egypt, where there are plenty of religious differences and religious opinions, or Iraq, where there's Shia or Sunni. Even, yes, there is some tribalism going on there. I don't disagree, just like there is in Libya, but the situation is obviously less of a problem in Libya, where it's an absolute tribal society. They're still able to get together, put a parliament together, get a secular parliament, I should add, and get a secular constitution together without any interference from Sunni, Shia, Christian strife going on. And it seems to have worked. And I don't see how you could argue that religion is not the big problem when Shiites and Muslims on a daily basis come out on television and say that that is their problem.
Maybe a little too early.
I apologize that I've not been able to comment on any of this because I'm not very up to date on Middle Eastern politics. I don't know. Are there any other comments from the panel on this?
Yeah, I guess he's afraid of conflicts that will happen between different ethnicities in Syria, for example. I guess why this revolution happened in Syria, because people are fed up, because our conditions are getting worse, and those people feel that they are not in their country. I mean, even he is Christian, Muslim, or even by the way, the revolution in Syria is not based on religion conflicts or something like this. This is what the regime is trying to do. He's trying to do this. It's like he's Alawi, and he's trying to get sympathy and support from Christian minorities and other minorities, and tell them, you have to stand with me and protect me, because Muslim Brotherhood are going to control the country if I went away, and they're going to kill all of you. And this is wrong. I guess I have read lots of articles before about Syrians who are fed up with Muslim Brotherhood, who are not supporting them enough in their war against the regime. The same as happened in Egypt. In Egypt, also Muslim Brotherhood didn't go to the street and didn't participate in the revolution from the beginning, okay? And when everything went okay and the regime started to fall away, they started to participate, and they as you're experienced and they have a good organization, they could reach the authority and presidency in Egypt. So the same happens in Syria. There's no ethnic conflicts, but it's going to happen now, because the regime itself, okay, who's using this game now, the regime, not the Muslim Brotherhood, not even the population, the Syrian people, okay. I guess all these conflicts happening in Arab worlds are not because of America or not because of Western intervention. I guess it's because of those stupid bastards who are the Arab presidents, who just want to collect money and steal, and they are destroying their countries with poor, with I don't know, but this is my point, and I guess.
I just, by the way, I just want to make sure to get across that I agree with what you said, that the revolution in itself is not a religious-inspired one. What I'm saying is that what might happen after the revolution, meaning the religious differences that could spark into violent conflict, should be enough of a deterrent to keep the West from helping the Syrians that are being slaughtered now, I think is indefensible. I'm not saying that the actual thing is religious now, but what I'm saying is that fear of religious divisions that can happen afterwards is not a good reason to not go in, because what we should do is instead deal with the actual problem, not keep Bashar there and let the problem get worse and allow it to be there for future exploitation by anybody who wants to use it to create conflict.
I just want to just come here. I just want to announce to the chat. The chat has crashed, so just in case, I think everyone is back on, back up. Got their chat back working again. But just in case you haven't, to get the chat working, just refresh the page, and it should be working then. And what's it? Yeah, we're gonna have to leave it at that with Goxter. We have another caller lined up, so. Just want to say thank you to Goxter, and we have another caller coming up.
It was good having you on, Goxter.
It was a pleasure, see you.
Who's our next caller?
Someone by the name of J.
J.
Yep, the letter J.
How mysterious. Why do I feel like
brought to you by the letter J?
What do I feel like the Joker's about to call in?
Actually, we have a caller on our show by the name of Jay. If it's the same person, I think that it would be a pretty good addition, actually.
Good. Waiting on Zulu to bring him in. While we're waiting on him, okay, there's Jay.
While we're waiting, we're just going.
I'm searching for topics here. Like one of the things I wanted to discuss is whether or not, because I've seen videos on this, on whether or not Islam and Sharia law allows for rape. But we can get into that after Jay. Jay, welcome to the show.
Hello?
I can hear.
I can hear you.
Yeah, about my questions, guys. Religion is full of violence and non-humanity things. So, this is our duty to protect children, the new generation, from all of that. We need ways to do that in reality, not just talk. So, how we can make that reality, protect children from violence and non-logic things they find in religion. Guys?
Well, yeah, I heard. Right. I mean, I think Aziz had a pretty good answer to this. I think that basically what he says is that, you know, every one of us who sees that is the case and that's what we should do has a moral duty at that point to do whatever they can to help, and you know that may be different things. It may be supporting a local secular thing. That may be if you know how to speak a language where you know there's not a lot of criticism going on of certain things. That means that you should try to tell people around you. You should try to. Right. And
what
so
about
I think,
education? What about education?
As far as education goes, I'm partial to Dan Dennett's solution when it comes to education and religion. Just put all the religions in a religion comparative study class. I think if a lot of people were to see that religions, when you look at them as a comparative study, there's a schism that you can actually see between all the different religions, and you can see where they came from. You can see, of course, their origins, and as well as their teachings, what they're similar in, and you can see that it seems to be this naturally occurring phenomena that we come up with a religion when you have that kind of a class. And I think if people just see that it looks like a naturally occurring phenomena, then a lot of people will be a little less inclined to join a religion unless they're looking for the social aspects.
But excuse me, darling. By name of democracy, a lot of countries let religion involve in education. So that's build new generations separate from differentiation, or what's the meaning of differentiation in humanity, and just believe that's new generation. Our religion is right and the other is wrong, so we should be fighting the others. Why we need to separate religion from education completely? Because it what's called mind and tolerance environment to grow up the new generation. We don't need this religion, because religions is different from one to others. So if you involve religion in education, that's mean you toxic education by religion. This is my opinion.
Well, I'm not advocating that we allow religion in, a science class or anything like that. I'm more talking about just there needs. I'm talking sort of like what Richard Dawkins suggested, in that we all have a class where we study the Bible, because it's such a very helpful book to understanding comprehensive literature. What I mean is, we would introduce a specific class that has absolutely no
Hello?
preference towards it.
Hello?
Everybody hear me?
Connection.
Yeah, it's back now.
I can hear everybody else.
Yeah, but it's
Sorry.
You were just gone for a while.
yeah, it will completely cut out. So repeat again, Lundy.
Well, I'm not saying that religion needs to be put into our science classes or anything like that. More what Richard Dawkins suggested, and that we should put the Bible in a sort of a understanding literature kind of class. So what Dan Dennis is that we have a class that has absolutely no preference towards any one religion. That has no. It's not saying this religion's right, and here are all the religions of the world, what they believe, what they do, what their rituals are, and this would include some of the more really insane religions. Like some there's I believe a religion in South America where people are trying to replicate to try and summon airplanes and forth. So there's something like that. Just like, look at how this is just a naturally occurring phenomenon, and look at how not special religion is compared to every other philosophy. And that would a lot of people to joining any sort of.
I just have a question from the chat from Hagen, and it's to Nada. It's how can Nada be forced to wear hijab
pretty badly.
Sorry. Okay, I got. Can you guys hear me fairly clearly?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll go ahead and ask the question. How can Nada be forced to wear a hijab and have permission to talk to foreigners? Is the question. Like, and I think to phrase it a little bit better, how are you specifically as a woman subject to sort of Sharia law?
You mean before?
I think this is a sarcastic question, basically saying.
I'm trying to make it
basically saying how are you saying that you have to wear a hijab when you're talking to people on the internet in your room? How do those things go together? And I think that you're just an idiot. That's the actual question.
I do think it was kind of a sarcastic question. I'm trying to phrase it a little bit better to make it a better question. More, how are you affected by Sharia law? Is, I think, a better question.
Smart logic. Yes.
It's ironic. Nada.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I mean, I think he's asking you a real question now. Is basically how are you affected by Islam directly? I think is the question.
Right, but I think we actually already went over that earlier in the show, so I don't really want to rehash it. What's his name again? Hagen. Hagen, if you really want to know, we're going to be uploading this whole thing on iTunes, and you'll also be able to go to Zulufightrunner's channel, and he'll upload the whole show. We actually went over that earlier, so you can go ahead and watch that if you're curious. But, you know, any other comments on the whole, you know, how we should approach religion and education?
I mean, I think the whole conversation that just took place, you know, is pretty logical if you're living in the West and talking about faith schools and things of that nature. But I mean, as far as Islam is concerned, I don't think that any of those are actually practical in any way.
There's a difference between teaching religion to indoctrinate and to educate people about religion. I think that's the important thing.
Well, I think what he's trying to say is that when trying to implicate this particular education system in the Middle East and in Islamic-controlled countries would be unfeasible. Like there wouldn't necessarily be
much. At least right now. Right now, it's not possible to have. I mean, to even talk about something like what you've just said is considered heresy. I mean. Yeah. To even say that let's say there shouldn't be a religion class for Christians and Muslims that they have to attend is considered heresy. So I mean, what you're talking about is just I mean, yes, that's a good idea if you're already living in a secular and democratic system and you're trying to combat faith as a way of indoctrination. But as far as actually making those changes, let's say in a country like Egypt in the education system, that's never not gonna happen anytime soon, anyways.
Like how is it heresy to say let's look at all the religions in the world? I mean, no one's like preferring another religion. No one's saying Islam is wrong or anything like that. It's just look at all the religions. Isn't that interesting?
Right. Well, I mean, if basically it's. Here's what you don't. I mean, here's the context that you may not be seeing. By the way, I'm hearing a really weird like sandstorm noise again.
Yeah, I was just about to say I heard that too.
Yeah, so do I.
No, it's gone.
Okay, just went away.
Okay. All right. Right. So what I'm saying is that if the context that you have to understand is that if somebody who claims to be a moderate Muslim, for instance, comes out and says, we should start to take a look at some of our own books again and see how much of the stuff could actually have been faked. That is considered heresy. So when you talk about recognizing religions other than the specified ones in the Quran, or, for instance, teaching Muslims about Christianity or things like that, that is also considered heresy. Secularism.
Knowledge about
guys.
Secularism is in Egypt.
Guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you suggest we should give up and let the new generation toxics of the violence find on Quran, and Quran said woman is out.
No. By no means am I saying that. And like I said, I referred to Aziz's comment about basically if when you're starting from zero, you have to do everything, and that means that there's a lot of hard work to do. You have to first get rational adults, people who have degrees, college degrees, to stop believing this crap first, and then they can in turn...
Political decision, darling. We need political decision.
Right, and like I said, if we're talking about practicality, and things that we can actually do...
In practicality, individual person cannot do anything, but a strong will, political decision can make the difference. For example, the West supports a lot of wrong things by name of democracy in Middle East. So why they not support the good things like separated education from Islamic religion? Because there is a lot of talks in Quran and Hadith. That's what the Prophet Muhammad said a lot of things against women, discrimination things, against the difference. Why I can at least move these things from education. That's what I want. I'm not asking for too much. I'm asking just remove the discrimination and violence things in religion from education. I want to protect the new generation.
Right, I mean, I think we all want that, but how do you propose we do this? I mean, I'm all ears.
That's the main
if you've
problem.
got a solution.
Yeah.
If you've got a solution, I'm all ears. I'm willing to listen.
Okay. First, we need West governments support this idea. So can put some force on the Middle East government to do that through political decision in education. Okay, this is point. Another point, we need the media. The media. We need
So,
Yeah.
that, and I can kind of see that, and I think a lot of petitions should be sent to the UN to try and say, look, Islam has these particular teachings, and those teachings need to be delineated. And I think a lot of moderate Muslims would probably agree with that for the purpose of, I don't believe in these very archaic teachings of kill the infidel and all that kind of stuff. So I think they would actually be on board with that as well. And I think it really wouldn't take too much to convince the world at large that this is a problem that needs to be addressed and needs to be fixed, and we can do this through the education system. And I think I agree with you that the media would be a great way to substantiate that kind of a position.
Sorry, I have internet.
Yeah, I can't hear anybody, by the way.
I'm so sorry, guys. So?
I can kind of hear you, Jay, but you're cutting really badly in and out.
Yeah, I have internet connection problems. So, what I say, in reality, we need many steps together. Media, decision maker, put some force on decision maker to do that. We need awarenesses and public awarenesses about that. And the most important, we need the new version of education system, and that I cannot make that as individuals person, but as a group or human rights group should do that, because human rights organizations should involve in that, because that's in the clear discrimination, tax, make it in reality as an act. When you tell a child, woman as your sister and your mommy or anything, awra and aib, that means shame. Woman is shame, woman is covered, woman should. Woman is beyond, it's not equal to you. Don't expect that child when you grow up like that, and he will be fair with the woman. For that we need a lot of things together. I must say that will happen easily, just like eating piece of cake. I don't say that, and I will never say that. But
I don't think any of us think that it would be easy, but goodness, excuse me. But would you agree with what I was trying to formulate? What you were saying, sort of like have the United Nations sort of try and legislate something about what the Middle East should do when it comes to educating people about what Islam is and what it teaches?
I'm not against Islam. I'm against a specific text in Quran and Hadith. That's a discrimination word there. I want to remove that. I want to remove that at least from education. That's all what I wish right now. I'm not dreamer girl. I'm realistic. I know that's difficult.
I agree that it would be extremely difficult to pull off. We have about 3 minutes left in the podcast, so I think I'm going to start wrapping things up here. Thank you, Jay, for calling in. Thank you to all of our callers for calling in. Thank you to the Arab Atheists for being here. Again, the whole podcast has been recorded, and it will be put on iTunes. You can look for it on iTunes, and it will be put on the Zulufightrunner YouTube channel as well.
Yep, the links are below in the playground for everyone. There's icons down in the playground for everyone to get the podcast and the YouTube.
Oh, fantastic.
Guys, don't forget to subscribe and rate the channel.
Right, Arab Atheists, you say you guys have a YouTube channel as well? Is it the Arab Atheists? Is that what it is?
It's Arab Atheist Broadcasting and there's also you can find all different ways to reach us if you go to www.ArabAtheistBroadcasting.com. There's all the different ways to follow, and we're actually in the process of translating some of our shorter videos into English. So you can always look forward to that.
Now, is the Arab Atheist broadcast, is that done in Arabic, or?
That is entirely in Arabic as of right now. There are some English articles on the website from one of our hosts, who is a scholar on religious studies scholar. But like I said, we are actually in the process of translating some of our videos and subtitling them, and we will be posting some of those soon to both YouTube and the website.
So we've got the website and we've got Arab Atheist Broadcasting videos. I'll go ahead and put that in the chat right here for everybody who wants to go check them out. Again, thank you guys for showing up. It is about 4 o'clock now, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And because I'm redundant, thanks again for being here for us.
Yeah, and
thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's just to tell everyone we're back in 2 weeks, and I'm just getting confirmed, but it's looking like, because he missed out on the charity show, we're going to have Michael Shermer on in 2 weeks, so everyone, you don't want to miss that one for obvious reasons.
It's going to be a fun show. So we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe to everybody's YouTube channels.